A college degree is not very useful. Just like you need an entry ticket to go to a concert or go watch your favorite movie, you need a college degree to get your foot into the job interview. From there on, everything that you studied hard for, everything that you prepared so diligently for, everything that you woke up those late nights for, it's not going to be of much use. When I was in school, I came up with this model that I called the bear hunting model. And the bear hunting model of the world is really simple. The model of the education system, I call it, is really simple. And I came up with this model, and I was very excited when I came up with it. And this model actually makes these distinctions. And the distinction is, let's say you are living back in the times of a caveman, and you want to learn how to hunt bears. Now you have two options. You have two people who you can learn from. The first one is a bear hunter expert. You call this person not an expert, you call this person a bear hunter theorist. And what this guy done is he has read everything that there is, he has observed everything that there is about hunting bears, he has read everything there is to read about how to hunt bears, whatever literature was there on at that time, and he has done all these different, like he is a very knowledgeable person when it comes to hunting bear, but he hasn't hunted a single bear in his life. On the other hand, you have someone who doesn't know how to read, he's not knowledgeable, he is in other areas of your life, he's stupid, but he hunts a bear every single week, and he's been doing that for years. If I were to throw you into a situation where you were to hunt bears, which of the person would you preferably train with? If you want to survive, if I want to survive, I would go for the person who doesn't know how to speak properly, doesn't know how to read, but knows how to hunt bears. Because my objective is to learn to hunt bears. This is true of the education system itself. That the education system can teach you a lot of theories. It can teach you a lot of, and the people who are actually, I mean this with no offense to anyone, that most of the people who are actually teaching there, and most of the way that the system is set up, it's not that you don't have your skin in the game, as Nassim Taleb calls it. You don't have any accountability. For example, you know a lot of different theories, you know a lot of different things, you know how to present stuff, you know how to, let's say you're a doctor, or let's say that you are let's say that you want to, let's go back to that example of hunting bears. Yeah, you know a lot of theories, you have a lot of knowledge, you can draw all these images, you have slides, and you can teach people through slides, you've taught so many classes, and you've done so many things, that you have a really good scale on the bear hunting, you really good score on the bear hunting, you have a really good GPA in the bear hunting PhD, and you have a lot of these. You have all these medals, but you haven't hunted as much bears as the next person who doesn't have the medals, who doesn't look pretty, who doesn't know how to present, he doesn't know how to speak properly, doesn't know how to read. But the guy literally hunts a bear every single week, and he's been doing that for a long time. Who's the expert here? We're sure that is the other guy. Now, except a very few disciplines, doctor, engineering. Generally, other than that, most of the people who are teaching the subjects that they're doing are not necessarily experts. They're not experts in the subject matter itself. They're more experts in talking about the subject matter. They're more experts in just teaching, right? And they're more expert in they're doing that job. And by the way, I'm not blaming them, I'm blaming the system as a whole, that the system is set up this way. That the system, if you want to learn, go to a person who, he's messy, he doesn't know, there was this conference going on, and it was between Nassim Taleb and Nawal Ravikant, and they were talking about, there are two people, and he says that when Nawal is looking to invest in a business, the people who have the startup, they invest in a startup, the startup who has some really nice workflows, some really nice presentation, nice slides, really good accounting model, and it's everything is like on point, and they're presenting really well. He says, I don't invest in that business because the startup it looks messy, because the people they're working on the business, they're creating the product, and they're doing all these things, and they don't have the time to make the presentation and all of these things. So that's actually counterintuitive if you want a good business. Just like that, people who are teaching business, even if that's at Harvard or Oxford, and all these. I'm not, by the way, I'm naming names, but I'm not blaming them. I'm just the system overall, that they don't know how to do business. They have not done a single, the economists, they have not run a single business in their life, and yet they go on and they rail about the next business, or the next stock market or Bitcoin. It's totally useless. And in fact, Nawal even goes on to say that you're burning neurons, you're becoming dumber as you're reading them, because you're burning neurons. And exactly the same is true when you're reading about most subjects, because there's certain things like, yes, doctor, engineering, all these things, you need to have those, you need to have that kind of training, like a proper theoretical knowledge, and then go even, in some sense, physics as well. But after that, it just, most of that is limiting. Most of that training is limiting, and it actually doesn't, because there's a difference between theoretical knowledge and practical systems. You can be very good at practically producing something, but don't have the theoretical knowledge of it. You can be a good writer, but you don't know how to, you don't know how you write, because you're a good writer. And by the way, if you want to teach that to other person, to actually analyze your writing, and then go ahead and take, okay, these are the things that I do. So if you want to learn writing, okay, here's how I do it. Now, the reason now we're talking about, the college degree. If you have a college degree, you are basically good in theorizing about the subject. You're not actually good at doing the thing that you're preparing for. Like if you get an MBA, let's say, you're not actually a good business person. You're just good at, just a lot about business. A good thing to do, the very best the very best way to learn a business is to go actually do it. And you learn more on the job than, yes, you should. We can talk to experts who are actually doing business, not just teaching things. This is a problem that I have, especially with commerce and these fields, that people who are there, they don't know squat about running a business and how does it take, and yet they have the capacity, the ability to go up and actually teach these subjects. And generally, it's just true for every. It's like, would you go to a fat person and say, okay, I want to get in shape, or would you go to a broke person and say, okay, teach me how to make money? Yes, they will give you advice, and yes, they have read things about, okay, this is how you make money, this is how you do business, and they also have a PhD. It's a nice degree hanging on the wall, and you see, okay, yes, it's signed, and they also wrote research papers and research journals, and they were academically very intelligent, and they did all these things about it. But like, where's the practical system? Where's the practical system that they built? Is like, does Steve Jobs has an MBA? I don't think so. Last time I checked, he didn't. Or the greatest business people in the world, do they have an MBA? Yes, the formal training that you get is important in some aspects, but more often than not, it's limiting. We actually talked about this in the previous series, in the previous podcast on this series. And in this edition, where we are talking about how a college degree is not very useful, and why on the series on why education system is setting you up to fail, the first step is you have to understand that theoretical knowledge is different from practical systems. And yes, theory, yes, it's great. You should learn as much as about it, but every theory is flawed. That's a bold claim, and I can prove that in some other video. But every theory is flawed. It's not true, it's just not false. And the best way to test a theory is put it to test. Just put it to test. You have an idea, put it to test. You have a great business idea, put it to test, and then you'll know. Otherwise, you'll be just left in the dark, and you would think, oh, look at me, how I have this paper was peer reviewed, and it's like people say that, oh, look how genius I am. But what does that mean? It doesn't mean anything unless you, if you let's say that you get you have done your PhD in English or something, English literature, like that. Would that make you Shakespeare? I don't think so. I highly doubt it. Now, with that said, the reason I think that a college degree is not very useful as just like a ticket that you get to enter the door. The next part is the reason it's not very important is, first, practical systems. Second is the cost of getting it is like it's too high, and the return on investment is not that much. Like we talk about the college debt in America, and it's like it's in trillions, and it's mounting up, and people spend all of their lives going and paying off their college debt. And there's also another study done, like how many Americans actually get a job in the degree that they studied in. Can you guess how many was it? It was 21%. Only 21%. I mean, give me a break. Just 21% of Americans actually get a job in the field that they studied in. The rest of them are actually changing and affecting, and so that is actually giving us real world data, statistical data, that it's not working. I mean, if it was the things that I learned were so useful and so great and so beautiful and so amazing, wouldn't I just use them when I go to and apply, when I go and work on practical systems? Don't. People are not using it because they, as soon as you get out of the environment that education system has created, you tend to see that, okay, boy, it was not preparing me for the practical system world, it was just preparing me to be good in that environment. And as the parameters go down, as the environment testing goes down, it's like I'm not that good in the real world. Because another problem with the degree is that when you're talking about, it's very good. It's like two problems. First one is, when you're there, uh, you're being taught general skills, and they're being taught to every person. Like, you're being taught very general skills. But when you're on the job, they don't require general skills. They want super specific skills. Like Google and all these different companies, they don't want you to just be a programmer. Let's say they want you to be a programmer, and they want to be a front end developer or a back end developer or specializing in AI or stuff like that. I don't know much about programming. But they want you to be super specific. They're just not like, you just, and the things that they teach you in college degree, they're just so general, so vague that they're not much of use. This is why companies like Google and all these Apple and IBM, I think they've dropped their, a lot of big companies, Fortune 500, they've dropped their college requirement, and they actually have actually have specifications and trainings that you can do for yourself and actually get a job there, because you're then actually you're learning from the person who is actually you're training for that highly specific thing, and you're also training for that highly specific thing, and you'll also learn on the job. So most of the things that you learn there, like, they're not useful when you go there. Secondly, what the world pays you for is specialized knowledge. Specialized knowledge is a form of knowledge that is specialized to you. It's like you're specializing in that thing, and you're specializing in being you. It's like about, for example, the greatest people in the world, the people who make a lot of money. For example, I'll quote, I'm quoting Naval when I talk here, that people like Joe Rogan or Elon Musk, nobody could replace Elon because he has specialized knowledge. He has a mission and he's working on that. You can't train people to be Elon. Yes, you can train people to be, even that is, I think it's not going to work really good. You can't train people to be entrepreneurs, or they ultimately have to come up with their own way. So specialized knowledge is like, that is specialized to you. It's what makes you unique. Specialized knowledge is what you need in a capitalistic society, and you don't get that in college, because if you can train multiple people on it, that means it's not specialized. If you can train people in a classroom, that itself means it's not specialized. It's general now. It's vague. So now with that said, before we move on, I would like to invite you to join my newsletter called Truth Thursdays, where every Thursday I send out a specific subscription, a specific newsletter straight into your inbox to help you become a better human being. So if you have not joined it, the link to join it is in the description. Go ahead, do that, and then we'll move on with it. So now, with that said, let's move on and let's talk about the last thing. And I think the last thing I'll add on to this is, it's a super short video, the super short podcast. Super short podcast depends on like the way I'm used to speaking. So I was given a time. Let's keep it within this time, okay? So yeah, I'll keep it in this time. So the last thing I want to talk about is that the world is rapidly changing. The education system was built in the industrial era, and that time, yes, the world was changing, but the rate of change right now is so much that there's this futurist, his name is Ray Kurzweil. We're trying to get him on the podcast as well. So Ray Kurzweil, if you're watching this by any chance, please see my emails. Check your email. I've been trying to send you some. So Ray Kurzweil talks about how there's the growth that we are having. For example, in the next 5 years, we're going to see 100 years of expansion in technology. But even more than that, the rate is also changing. So, for example, in the next 5 years, we might see 100 years, but in the following 5 years, we might see 200 or even 1,000. He has a whole graph of and he said that we will reach a place called singularity, where it's like a completely harmonic world between the digital and the physical. It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. And he predicts it to somewhere, it's not far away, it's in this century. So it's crazy. So in a world that is so, it's proceeding and rapid, it's changing so fast, how do you actually, like, you're still learning, and the schools can't keep up with this change, the education system cannot keep up with this change. So they're still, by the time you graduate and you're learning the stuff that you learn, by the time you graduate, it's going to be useless, it's going to be outdated, it's not going to be of any use there. So you're learning things which are outdated. So that's another reason that your college degree is not useful. And the last one that I'll leave you with, this one, is that is this thing that I learned, and I'm learning about I'm pondering a lot over it, is that you learn the game by playing it from the inside, not from the outside. And it's from Nassim Taleb's book Skin in the Game, where he talks about this green lumber fallacy. And this green lumber fallacy is that there was this trader who actually learned everything about green lumbers and read and all the material and all this. And when he invested, he's like so knowledgeable about green lumber and the kind of material you get and everything, that he could basically learn about green lumber. But in the end, he failed. But there was another guy who didn't know as much, but he traded green lumber, and he was actually making a lot of money on it. So what that story, that fallacy emphasizes it, is that when you're outside and you're trying to learn the game, it's very difficult to do. And the game is played from the inside. And when you're inside it, it's a very different environment. So that is actually very true of when you're in the education system. It's like you're outside. You've lost your touch with the practical system, the practical ground. You're in this different kind of environment than you're in your university, let's say. And the things that you learn from there, although they might be very useful for that environment, you might feel, okay, wow, I'm learning so much about this. But when you're in the practical system and you actually do that, it's very different. It's not cool. In fact, I'll leave you with this really, it just happened. I met a friend of mine, and she's studying in a university, and she's studying nutrition. And she told me that, okay, we're studying nutrition, and she was really excited about it. And I was like, are you really studying nutrition? And she told me that we baked cookies. That was our class project. And the next class project is we're going to bake cake. And the next class project is we're going to bake a pizza. And I'm like, is this the human nutrition department or is the human malnutrition department? Like, what are you guys doing? Why are they teaching you this? I mean, you make a salad, that's good, and it's just nutritious and all. But, like, what's the purpose? But I don't know what's the purpose behind it. But, yeah, generally, if that's the trajectory they take, and it is common within multiple disciplines, that it's like people who are studying computer science, they don't know how to actually do computer science. People who are studying software engineering, they don't know how to do software engineering. Yes, they know all about the code and what CSS and what Java and what's differential and all this, but man, can you actually write a program? No. So I'll leave you with that, and I'll ask you to ponder on this and see what a college degree is useful for. And I'll see you in the next one, where we discuss how you can develop an anti-education. I'll see you. If you enjoyed watching this video, don't forget to watch this video on my side. It also relates to physics, philosophy, and personal development. And also, don't forget to subscribe, continue seeking truth, and become a truth seeker.